welcome back to another Cruising with Kayfabe. I'm Mongo.
I'm Emily.
And today we're diving into an episode, Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley from Ashes to Everest. And we're going to talk about this feud from the beginning where it was a little humble. Who's better? Who's going to move on to the championship? To Darby wanted to take everything from Jon Moxley.
Yeah, there was lots of highs, a lot of lows. And I mean,
And to quote the great Cornholo, aka Beavis, fire, fire, lots of fire.
so much fire. And the backstage ambushes, I mean,
The kidnappings, the crime counter. I mean, I don't know if you watched Simon Miller when he used to, or if he still does, the crime counter when he would list off like real life crimes in wrestling. I think this was off the charts for this entire run.
anarchy for sure.
In the arena. But yeah, we figured what better time because, as you know from listening to this episode or watching this, or you don't know, Darby has challenged and Moxley has accepted an I Quit match at Wrestle Dream in St. Louis.
Yeah, I think that an I Quit match, I kind of want to. Do we get into that at the beginning or at the end?
I think we'll get into it towards the end. This will kind of be the build up towards it, but let's just say without spoiling too much in the late beginning for now or later, St. Louis is going to see a St. Louis massacre. I'm calling that right now. It's going to be bloody because this whole feud has been bloody, joint manipulation, painful. You look away. It's lots of ouch moments.
And going back and watching the first couple of matches, I saw a lot of things that I didn't see previously. Really interesting to watch even their tag team matches. Completely forgot that they teamed up with pretty big tag teams in the beginning.
Eddie Kingston, Sting at one point. Like they kind of worked all around them. They had against Jericho. It was definitely good cohesion because it would start. We'll start at the beginning. It would start in 2019. Only a month into the TV deal, November comes around. You have the number 4 contender Jon Moxley and the number 5 contender Darby Allin, essentially fighting to see who's going to move up the ranks and face Chris Jericho, who was the very first AEW champion. He was the champion. I mean, we know now that it was Moxley, but that first match on Dynamite, you had this young kid who we got to see his video editing skills, see that awesome promo package where he's carrying around Mox's body bag.
From the very beginning, they showcased his film, they showcased his body bag, they showcased every detail of Darby Allin that makes Darby Darby. And I think that that's the key element here is that he really hasn't changed who he is. He's always just been heart and soul and relentless from the very start of AEW.
I mean, just going back and watching his first couple matches that we did, I mean, it's November 2019, and there's already people in the crowd with his face paint. And I remember you telling the story all the time when we met him on the cruise. He didn't think people would recognize him without said face paint because he didn't realize just in those few months how big he really got.
Yeah, he got himself over with the fans in such an incredible way. So I want to take us back to 2019. It's September, October, and our son the previous year was Jeff Hardy at his Catholic preschool.
Don't judge.
It's what he wanted. He got what he got. He got what he wanted. So we go from him wanting to be Jeff Hardy to now in 2019, he's in kindergarten and he's saying that he wants to maybe it was first grade, whatever it was, but he wanted to be Darby Allin. And I said, I just want you to be aware that while we're out trick-or-treating, people are just going to think that you're a skeleton. Is that okay with you? And he was like, yeah, mom, that's okay with me. And I was like, all right, we're going to just like do you up full Darby Allin. But when we go trick-or-treating, if people ask, they just want you to understand.
Yeah, and that was the match we're talking about. After Camp saw this match, actually, no, you're right. It was Fighter Fest because this match was November. See, look at that. We're getting our times mixed up because it was Halloween 2019. Because then we perfected the paint for the cruise in 2020.
Yes.
The hair in 2019, I'll put a picture up. It was like neon green. There was an attempt.
It was so
there
rough.
was an attempt.
It was so rough.
But it just showed that how much he captured. Again, we have at the time, what was he, 5-year-old kiddo who was like, who's this Daredevil guy? Who's this guy who skateboards to the ring and throws himself around? And that's what this first match between Moxley and...
Oh, it was kindergarten. COVID.
And that's when kind of Moxley and Darby really showed who they are. And Darby kind of really showed. I mean, we saw him have his tie with Cody where when he hit that coffin drop spot on the apron, you already knew he was that crazy son of a bitch. You saw his match at Fighter Fest, but then this was the first like television match. Like, what's he gonna do? He's not gonna rely on the blood, the guts, the gore. He comes out with a fucking body bag, skateboards to the ring, and then immediately Moxley gets out there and he fucking throws himself at him like a missile.
And that's the thing that I kind of forgot about Darby Allin is he really has just thrown his body at every little element of wrestling. Whether it's going up and down a ladder, whether it's going over the ropes, under the ropes, coffin dropping, barricades, this man glass. This man just throws himself and it seems reckless and without a cause, but when you really analyze him, there is a lot that goes into his movesets.
And it's a very David Goliath storytelling for him, especially in this first match. You know, it's Moxley who he came from WWE. He had his CZW, his indie run. People knew who he was. He made an impact at Double or Nothing. He had a feud with Kenny Omega going. So he was on the up and ups, and Darby's like, I got to make a name for myself. And they would have a match, and even Moxley would be surprised because Darby started going places I don't think Moxley was ready for. I mean, to start your first of many, he put his fingers in the turnbuckles and was just wrenching them. And then I believe you found out he dislocated them.
Yeah, because he's yelling for a medic at the end of the match. And I'm thinking to myself that I've never seen or heard him yell for a medic before. And I was just really genuinely surprised because, again, it's not something you hear from Moxley, at least anymore. So maybe it was just really quiet. I don't know. But I wasn't prepared to hear a medic by John Moxley.
And
And he was grabbing and ugh. It was
and
gross.
it was great because you really saw Darby shine in this match. And I think the crowd got behind him. Again, Mox was full face at this point. People loved him too. But he almost got that little respect from Mox. Like you could see Mox was like, all right, kid, all right, kid. You know, it even watching back, you knew Darby wasn't gonna win, but it was that holy shit, he came close to pinning a former world champion. He came close to improving his rankings, and it was a good kind of way to get the crowd used to what his character would be going forward. That, like you said, reckless daredevil who's going to throw himself at every fucking thing he possibly can, or onto something, or in something. That man has just. I'm just waiting for him one day to come out, and it's just going to be like 1,000 skateboards with tacks everywhere. He's just going to have like a whole ass like U-Haul full of like skateboards with tacks.
I want it.
Because that's what I think the charm is. He's kind of like a modern day like Mick Foley, Jeff Hardy hybrid. Like he does all the crazy hardcore stuff, but then he's that cool like this generation's Jeff Hardy, where he jumps off the ladders, like you said, he jumps off the scaffolding. I mean, you go back and even watch him in the Indies, he's getting thrown in the crowd by Ethan Page. He's getting brutalized by Eddie Kingston, Moxley, that one match they had, and it wouldn't really be over for here because Darby, you know, would kind of start heading towards his direction in 2020. Unfortunately, the pandemic would change a lot of the course, a lot of the storylines, a lot of the way in wrestling in general. But Mox would capture his very first world title. He would defeat Jericho at Revolution 2020. He would start his feud with MJF in the summer of 2020. However, somebody else wanted the title shot, and Mox wanted to make sure. I mean, MJF, excuse me, wanted to make sure that Mox wasn't going to be champion. So he figured he'd sick the craziest son of a bitch he could find, and he put Darby up against Mox. And now this is their rematch, but this time it's Darby's first chance at a world title, and it's in Jacksonville. Darby clearly kind of learned his game because in the promos leading up to it, he talked about he's not going to quit this time. He's not going to roll over and die. And Mox was like, but you have to stop. And I think this was really telling of their future. He's like, just lay down and die. Just stop. Just give up, Darby. And I think that kind of set the tone for this match. It was going to be Darby's not going to give up until you make him like not be able to move.
And I think the TNT title had barely been introduced at this point.
It was just introduced. Yes, that Double or Nothing about 2 months prior. So Cody was kind of establishing his run with it because that's kind of where Darby would go after this. So this was kind of like a Darby's first real shot at gold. Wasn't quite ready for that gold yet, but this was another brutal match that just it set the tone. Darby went, I think, at 100 miles an hour this whole time. Again with the fingers with Mox, dislocated him again the second time.
Called for a medic again.
He coffin dropped him to the outside. It was pure chaos. And I don't know how many paradigm shifts he took before he finally went down. But that seemed to be the theme, is that avalanche paradigm shift. Both matches now, Moxley's taken him off the third turnbuckle, third or top rope, you want to call it, and given him an avalanche paradigm shift. It kind of always seems like he has to brutalize him in both matches.
Yes.
And then obviously the Bulldog choke and everything. And eventually it was too much for Darby, but he kind of leaned in towards the end of the match and he basically was like, "Hey, I love you, kid, but it's not your time." And this kind of became Darby's in promos as well as in that kayfabe, like my hero moment, because Darby would reveal later on that he looked up to Moxley. That when he was kind of breaking into wrestling, he watched his old CZW stuff, he watched his deathmatch wrestling, he watched Moxley on the Indies, and when Moxley came to AEW, he was glad he got the Moxley of old. He didn't get the watered down version of himself. He got him true self, his authentic self. And I think that's kind of what ignited this feud as they kind of go further.
Yeah, and to deep dive a little bit on Darby Allin for this aspect, I think it's kind of important to recognize that he's always said he didn't really have a favorite wrestler growing up. He says maybe like somebody like Mick Foley, but he doesn't really say like I had a favorite. He will not
He
like
doesn't name it.
disclose that because I don't think he had one. I think he just kind of enjoyed what he saw, but he couldn't relate to people. And I think that's why Darby Allin is so important to wrestling because he gives other people someone to relate to.
I mean, the way he moves in the ring, we talk about it all the
It's
time. I
so
mean,
incredible.
he's fluid. Like he'll go for like a reversal to go for reverse grapple, and he'll kind of like slide around you and almost like I don't want to say ballet because people might pick on that, but
It's like skateboarding.
it's like he's so fluid with his motions. It's like he just slides, he glides. It's almost like he's skating on ice. Him and Kenny Omega have such great footwork, and I know people don't like it, but I love the way they just kind of, like you said, skate around the ring.
And he's so fast paced when he does it. It's just slick. Every
Oh my
little
god!
piece of it. And like I said, he looks like he's just doing whatever. And I really think that there is a point to it. I think that he does know ring awareness. I think he's aware of where he's at. He knows what he's going to do. And as relentless as it is, I still think that there's a peace of mind with that relentless.
I mean, we'll be fair. I think he knows where he is in the ring all the time because he's throwing himself out of the fucking ring all the time.
True.
And one of my favorite parts in commentary on the second match is JR was like, he is a human missile because at one point Moxley's outside and he's kind of like holding his face, and then Darby just balls to the wall, like you just said, going 100 miles an hour, just spears him through the center rope. And if you even watch the pandemic era when there's not really a big crowd because they're not there, you can see how much those barricades move. Now imagine people being there and it moving into people. He does not like jump out and kind of do like the little shoulder tap that some people do and fall. He
No,
jumps out and
he's
is like, "Catch me,
full.
motherfucker." I mean, we talked about it on our all-out review of the coffin where he speared Moxley into the coffin and it closed. He's going to come at you at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, there's no doubt about like again, the relentlessness.
And I think that's what built Darby up. And what's great is, he would spend the rest of 2020 and 2021, 2022 really defining himself as TNT champion. And we found out who Darby Allin was. He'd be in very memorable feuds, but he would still always kind of cross paths with John Moxley, like you said, the tag team wrestling.
Yeah, so I want to get into that a little bit because I think it's really cool to look back on the tag teams that they faced together, knowing that Sting was involved on the outside, knowing that Moxley was doing heel tactics, but unless Darby was tagged in, he was not really participating in them. Here and there, like a distraction with like tag team people, but never the referee. And I think that that's kind of incredible to look at because you're working with the heel tactic of Moxley, but you're not
But
giving
Moxley
in.
wasn't working heel. That
Yes, he was then. He went over and like bit people like that
well,
weren't
yeah, he
tagged
was
in.
he was always
Like
blurring the gray
he
line.
was, yeah, he was distracting the referee, but like Darby wasn't doing that, and I think that that's something to point out because there was still a little good in him even during like a heelish run.
I was gonna say it because I wouldn't say Mox. I would say Moxley's always been that person who will lean towards that gray. Like he's definitely if there's a rule book, he's kicking it out of the ring. I'll definitely agree 100%. And I think it is wholesome that Darby was like, I got to be genuine. I can't do that as well. One thing I kind of liked about them tagging together is that's when Sting kind of came in, December 2020. I don't think we'll ever forget Sting arriving, confronting Darby, then Team Taz, their build up. And I think the large part of 2021 through realistically 2024 for Darby was him and Sting discovering the identity and Sting kind of passing off a lot of knowledge to Darby. And remember, we talked about in that second match, you're not ready, kid. And the first match, him just kind of happy to be there. Each match, Darby kind of evolved. Not only physically did he seem to always kind of tone up every time they wrestled, mentally he kind of leveled his game up too. And I think the whole partnership with Sting, is the best thing ever to happen for Darby Allin. Not only does he kind of get like the aesthetics of it, but he gets that vibe, the aura. I mean, how many times did you pop for they would both just be standing up in the rafters watching, or they would be in the balcony watching, or Sting would just come out and look at Darby like a proud dad. Like it just made you happy.
It did. It was feel good moments. And talk about feel good moments. I realized that the first people to call out the team of Mox, Eddie, and Darby was 2.0 and Daniel Garcia in their debut tag match.
And Daniel Garcia is currently in the Death Riders. Interesting how this
it was
connects.
a very interesting match to watch, and just to listen to the commentary and how beloved Daniel Garcia was in that match. It was really heartwarming to see, like, oh, he was the future even then.
And I think Darby, going back to your comment earlier about him kind of trying to stay true to himself, I think that metamorphosis through 2024, especially with Moxley saying fuck it and turning to the dark side, I think Darby's always like, listen, I'm AEW 100%. I'm here because, you know, this is the place that gave me the chance. He's loyal because AEW is the place that took a chance on a scrawny kid from Seattle that had no business in wrestling. His own words, not mine. And you see things like how these stories start to intertwine, and it's perfect because Darby was willing to risk everything and anything to get what he wanted, and he finally would win a gauntlet. He'd finally get his world title shot. He's going to go against Bryan Danielson in Seattle area, in Washington State, his home area. He has a chance to win the title against someone he's believed in. And Moxley, you know, starting to lean into the asshole side, basically tricks Darby into putting on the line in a match at Grand Slam. And it was kind of heartbreaking because, I mean, we all knew storyline what was going to happen. We all knew it was there to transfer the number one contendership from Darby to Mox, but part of you had a chance because this is the third time they would meet up in a singles match. And you're like, well, he can't lose 3 in a row, right? I mean, he can't lose 3 in a row. His world title. This was probably the most brutal match these two had so far. Before we get to the other ones, but holy shit! I mean, you had Marina taking the ring apron, the ring mats out, exposing the concrete. You had the ring being ripped apart. Multiple avalanche, paradigm shifts, death riders, whatever you want to call it. Darby being ragdolled, thrown in the ring, choked unconscious, bleeding, you know, flipping off Moxley, trying to just hang on and not give up his title. Moxley biting him, Darby doing everything can. He's just not giving up, but eventually it was too much. And, you know, Moxley would get his future world title shot and eventually get that title. And part of me thinks this is where the story really kicked in high gear because I think Darby felt like he let down the fans. He let himself down at this moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I think Darby is that person. I mean, if you listen to the original, when Mox came back in September, there was a line that he said that I wrote down. I will burn down the forest to build a new one. This isn't your company anymore. And we've talked about this line many times. The first kind of real people to be pissed off about that, besides the Ospreys, Darby and Orange were like, no, what the fuck, man? Like, what do you mean you're going to burn down AEW? You're not taking down AEW. And you had Darby, who just helped retire basically his mentor and his best friend Sting. Now I'm going to deal with this asshole who's trying to take over the company. And he did everything he can. And obviously in kayfabe, he got fucking thrown down the stairs. Like, I don't understand why the poor man just can never
in
knock
kayfabe, because you totally can fake that.
Yeah, I meant like in storyline, he was written off. But, you know, because we obviously know he would go to climb Everest. But think about the year before he even fought at Grand Slam. He got hit by a fucking bus, broke his leg facing Jay White in Boston. So his 2024 was full of injury and setbacks.
Foot.
What? It was his foot, excuse me. So he had injury, setbacks, couldn't climb Everest. Then he gets thrown down the stairs by Moxley, lost his title shot. Like, I think this, character-wise and real-wise, is where Darby was like, I need to reset. And he climbed Mount Everest. And, you know, cheap plug, check our YouTube channel. We did a great playlist under Darby Climb Mount Everest, a few videos in there, under about 10 minutes each, kind of talking about his journey. We also put the interview from Talker's Jericho where he also talks about it, where he didn't feel anything but achievement after it. He felt literally on top of the world, and he said he was going to plant an AEW flag there, and he did. He brought AEW flag up there, and he fucking cuts a promo on Jon Moxley, basically saying, hey, I know I'm gone. You got rid of me, but when I come down, I'm taking everything from you. And he wasn't just talking about the title. He was literally saying, I'm going to take everything from you. So I want to ask you, you know, since we have some time, What do you think those words really mean? What do you think Darby meant by "I'm going to take everything from you"? Like, what else could he take from it if he doesn't have the title?
The whole group. He could take everything. He's literally, I think, Darby Allin is very. I don't literal. Did not know the word. Literal.
He's not figurative.
Darby Allin is not figurative at all. He is going to take the people around you from you. He's going to show everybody your true colors. He's going to get you to quit. He's going to take your championship. If it's not by him, it will still be with help from him.
Like he's going to screw you over at every possible.
Yeah, he's done. Whether, again, like, we don't know. Could Daniel Garcia be infiltrating?
And that's
Marina's pretty freaking esteemed with him right now.
And that's the thing you got to look into is with Darby is his metamorphosis here now is after he ascended very Sting-like aura here when he came down from the rafters at Allin after you heard that promo from Mount Everest, Sting-like vibes. Him coming down, slow descent, taking out Moxley, coffin dropping the Death Riders, and then just for weeks just in the shadows watching Moxley again. Sting vibes. So I love that they're kind of blending. He learned from Sting how to sit back and pick his moments. He is reckless, but you notice he's not stupid. He's not going to run in there and be outnumbered every time anymore. He's learned. He learned not that I got thrown down the stairs last time because look what happens every time he's in the ring. Nobody comes to help Sting. I mean, no one helps to come help him. He doesn't have Sting anymore. No one's helped him. He's always been on his own. So that is the perfect like transition. Like Sting's gift to him was Sting was always that loner. He didn't really have the help. He had the baseball bat. That was his backup. Darby's got the flamethrower, so I almost kind of feel like they're leaning into that idea of like he learned from Sting that no one else can have your back but you. You need to have your back. And I think that's what should scare Moxley. And I think that's the intention of this character is he sits back, he watches, he picks and chooses. I mean, poor Wheeler Yuta got fucking kidnapped and stapled Forbidden Door in his head. And then we go to Forbidden Door. You have the Death Riders versus Team AEW and Darby and his poor ear just getting mangled by Moxley. You have him getting thrown by Claudio out of the ring on the Dynamite before, then thrown into the cage. The Death Riders were doing everything they can to stop Darby, but he just kept coming.
Yeah, he was not stopping. Darby literally lit him on fire.
And that's the second person he's lit on fire. To say how crazy that is. I mean, last year he lit Jack Perry on fire, so we knew he was capable of it. And then we have an insane coffin match where, like we've talked about on the All Out episode, you have him spearing the coffin. You have Darby taking a razor's edge on the coffin. You have Pac screaming over. You have them dragging him out in the coffin in a body bag. And then backstage, Darby setting fucking Moxley on fire in the same body bag, and he's still not done. And then he comes out on Dynamite this past week, and he's limping, and he's got the flamethrower, and he's just maniacal. And he tells Moxley, "I'm going to challenge you to an I Quit match at Wrestle Dream." Mother of God, I thought it was going to be like an exploding barbed wire or an Inferno match, but we're getting an I Quit match. This is the fifth match. Darby is 0-4 against Moxley. Like I feel like this has got to be the time. My way too early prediction, but I think this has got to be the time. I think he's going to do whatever it takes to make Moxley quit. I don't know exactly what, but St. Louis, I hope we ain't squeamish.
I think that there's going to have to be a way to get the Death Riders away from Jon Moxley. That's the only way he's going to stay with the ability to win. So you need to cut out his group. You need to take them away. Or Darby Allin needs reinforcements and Hangman needs to supply them because let's face it, Hangman wouldn't be champion right now if it wasn't for Darby Allin.
And that's what I'm curious about. Like, who's going to come help Darby eventually? Because no one seems to help. I mean, Jack Perry's not going to help him because he set Jack Perry on fire, and he threatened to set him on fire in the Blood and Guts last year. So you have that bridge being burned, figuratively and literally. The Young Bucks are heels. Orange Cassidy maybe, but he's kind of got his own thing going on right now. I don't know who's left to really help him. I mean, Ospreay is in the hospital healing up. Swerve could come back and help him out. I mean, Swerve loves Darby.
So there's Swerve. There is, again, a very big potential of somebody else that infiltrated.
I don't know if Daniel Garcia is a mole. I don't know if it's too early to say that yet, but I just think with
I don't want
Darby.
to think he turned, okay?
I understand, but with Darby and Mox, you got to think of what this rivalry's been based on and built on. It started out with like a little bit of, you're the number 5 in the company, I'm the number 4. I need to beat you so I can move up number 3. But Darby's like, you're not going to just look past me. And then it turned to, he has a title. I'm like, I took you to the limit. I almost had you. And Mox like, hey, not now, but you got it, kid. To then Moxley realizing he could just manipulate him, and he beat the living fuck out of him. And then he has him in a coffin match, and he beats him again, but this time obviously with the help of Pac and Death Rider. So it's, everything is just, Darby keeps getting knocked down and keeps getting knocked down, and we talk about it all the time. TK loves the redemption, loves that arc. Even this I Quit match doesn't feel like it's the end of this feud, because Moxley quits, and then what happens? I still feel like there's something going on. There's more to this, because Darby has literally said, one, I'm going to take everything from you. He's literally threatened to burn his world down. There was a line that Darby said recently after he challenged Moxley: if you want to burn AEW to the ground, don't be surprised when I'll pull you to the pit and the fire with me. Darby's not going down without a fight, and Darby will destroy himself to destroy Jon Moxley. And I think that's something to kind of keep in mind too. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be bad news for Jon Moxley. I really want to see him by himself. I want to see him like tell them, "No, I've got this." And be like all cocky and arrogant and thinking that he can do this. And then Darby Allin comes out of nowhere.
I mean, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see him finally get a win and just.
This is going to be a match that starts before the bell, like their first match did.
I don't think every other matches have waited for the bell. I think they just always
Yeah,
started
like
at each
brawled.
other. Because I think Darby knows he can't wait to get his ass kicked. It's kind of like the old adage where it's like, give me your best shot because you get one. And Darby's like, I'm going to take my best shot right the fuck now. And it works for some matches. There's been matches where he's taken that best shot. And I mean, look at when he beat Miro. Look at when he beat Cody. He took his best shot. When he beat Cody, nobody thought, he used everything in his power to dethrone him and win his first championship. Pac was a pain in the ass for him, and he did everything he could. Everyone was always in his way, and he always found a way. MJF is the only other person I think he struggles with. MJF and Mox. So the two biggest dogs kind of in the company are who he struggles with. And I think he's going to get over his issues with Mox. And I think we see that run back with MJF at another time. But Darby's not done. He's going to destroy him. And I think you're right. I think it starts with taking the Death Riders down. And he's got, Willow on his side. He might have Statlander now on his side after what Statlander did. So he's starting to get some support. So then Marina is going to be outnumbered. So now he's got to find some male support to kind of go against the Pac and go against the Claudio. And he doesn't have to worry about Yuta. But he's got to really focus on Garcia and Mox. Because I think Garcia, you made a good point. I think that's who to look out for. Because Garcia wants to prove himself to Moxley. Darby has that history not only in Limitless with Garcia, but like you talked about earlier in the previous tag team matches, their matches they had together. They're both former TNT champions. They both know what it takes to be on top. They both know what it takes to do the thing you don't want to do. Garcia's stomping people's heads in. Darby will set people on fire, tape them up, kidnap them, drag them away in a body bag. Like, they're both going to do what it takes to win. And if Darby has to go through Garcia, he will. And I think that's what the big crux of this feud is. He's going to go through everyone to get to Moxley, to get to the evil king, basically.
Okay, so we're going to have like the 5 layers.
Yeah, almost like the trials and tribulations.
I like it.
And I almost wonder, do you think we have almost like what they did with Jericho, where he has to go through some trials, like not necessarily like the comical style where it's like week 1 you face this, but it's almost like a gauntlet of sense, like he has to run the gauntlet.
Yeah,
like I could see that kind of happening,
like almost like how Cody and MJF did it.
Yeah,
not it's a repeated thing, but again, I just think he'll have to run through each Death Rider.
Yeah, because I think
because he has the mixed tag match, so that's already happening.
And I think he wants to be the one
to just keep going.
And he wants to be the one to save AEW. I think he wants to be the one, because he's always been the one that says, I don't want the title. I want to be the one that represents AEW. And I think AEW in kayfabe is so important to him, and in real life important to him. He will put himself through a little hell to take down the guy who's opposing and trying to destroy it. And that's the big part of this feud is you have the person who's literally willing to break every rule, hide the title away, beat up the good guys, retire Bryan Danielson in the most god-awful way, be ruthless, destroy people, injure people, put people on the shelf, throw people downstairs, Okay, you want to fight fire with fire? I'll bring a fucking flamethrower. Like, you have that person who's going to match crazy. And Moxley hasn't had too many people who can really match his level of crazy yet. I mean, he had that match with Kenny where they took it to the limits, both barbed wire matches, but no one's really matched him like psychotic for psychotic yet. And I think Darby is the guy who can match him where you go, Jesus Christ, one of you guys is like that. That's the emotions you're gonna get is, oh geez, like the Hangman Swerve match where you're just like you couldn't look. It's gonna be that kind of I quit. I think it's gonna be again not for the faint at heart. It's gonna be hard to watch, but I think Darby gets this moment.
Yeah. I think I just realized like an epiphany.
What's that?
So you've got Jon Moxley, who kind of caters to the older fan base that's a little bit more of the like, oh, blah, 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 technical wrestling. It should be like this. It should be the old way because that's how he wrestles. And then you've got Darby Allin, who's more of the next generation. He's trying to bring in the new fans because he has the younger fan base. Not that the older fans don't love him as well, but Darby Allin's building a skate park for the younger generation. He's really going to be showing himself off to these next fans, the next generation of wrestling fans. And I think that that's something really cool and important. If he is to get the world title and hold that, which is what I think is coming after this with the I Quit match. I think that if
Probably next year, if anything.
yeah, like if Darby wins, this brings him up to that next tier. So
And
I think that this beating Jon Moxley is one of like the biggest defeats
and
or
Jon Moxley
feats,
doesn't lose
sorry.
often.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the biggest things that you can do in AEW at the moment is to actually have a win over Jon Moxley. And so to think like again, Darby Allin having all these little projects going on, like he's been on television for multiple different things. His Everest documentary will probably be coming out in the next year.
Well, we don't know. He said he filmed stuff, but we don't know.
Well, it's Darby Allin, whether he produces it or someone else does.
Well, I just don't want to keep people's hopes up because my hopes are already up.
Why are your hopes up?
Because he films stuff, and I feel like he's too into filmmaking not to make a cool video.
Exactly why it's gonna happen. He's doing it.
True.
It's Darby Allin. Of course, he made a video of
And
this.
I don't know. I might have to digress a little bit. I don't know if I'd say Moxley's a technical wrestler per se. He's always been the brawler, crazy.
Well, yeah, so like the old
match.
school.
I think he's as far from old school. So he bleeds in his hardcore death matches. He's the opposite of what those people love. FTR would be more of a case of that, I think.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying. He's got more than people my generation, my age, where it's like, yeah, the cool, gritty, gotta beat you up and make you pay for it. And Darby's definitely that bridge where he's gonna get the teens to the next generation. 100% agree. And I think it's awesome what he's doing for the skate park and the community. Him and Tony Hawk making sure people who don't have a safe place to go, especially, I mean, he grew up in some bad areas and he's lived in bad areas. So he knows that after school, sometimes it's not a great place for them to hang out. If you can build a skate park with modern equipment that's, safe, that they can go and have fun and learn at and not be on the streets getting yelled at by people and not being in the roads. They have a place to skate and have fun because I think he realizes that that's kind of what saved him. He talks about skateboarding and wrestling, kind of like his ways to like escape the realities. I mean, he wears his face paint that way because you hear every time he wrestles, his uncle died from a DUI, and he feels like half him died that day. And it's horrible to think that way, but he finds outlets. I mean, I think it's crazy that he just one day was like, "How do you climb Mount Everest?" And then all of a sudden was like DDP talking to him. He's climbed Mount Everest. Like, I think he's inspiring, and you can say whatever you want about his matches. You can say whatever you want about any of the hardcore stuff, but when you see someone who's like, "I want to climb Mount Everest," and then actually fucking does it, I feel like even in that storyline, you can believe that wrestler if he says, "I'm going to win that title." I think you'd believe them. I mean, our kiddo is doing a project at school about Mount Everest, and he's excited to talk about Darby Allin to his school. And he's excited to show them pictures of him with the flag on top because that's a wrestler he's met and he's looks up to. And they're talking about something cool. And he was so excited. He's like, "Oh, we're talking about Mount Everest, and my favorite Darby climbed Mount Everest." And I could tell my teacher about it. It's cool to see, like you say, that injection of wrestling into this other community. You have like the IWC clubs and you have like the after school wrestling clubs that some schools are doing, especially up in New York, that famous one. It's great to see that. And again, people throw around the word family friendly, and it's like they forget there's families of other age groups besides 3 and 5-year-old kids.
And even the 5-year-olds. Sorry, not sorry. Darby Allin was a role model for a 5-year-old. Like, and still is now. Like, they A role model doesn't need to be somebody that is perfect on every level. A role model is somebody that pushes through things and shows their differences. A role model is so different for every person that they could make a big mistake. That doesn't mean that they're not a role model to anybody.
People still call Jeff Hardy a role model, and you know what? He's human. He's made mistakes, and I feel like that's the other thing is it's seeing how people rise up through adversity. He's someone that rises up through adversity. That's why I was really excited to do this episode today because even in storyline, his character is him. He rises up. He faces the challenge. I mean, when you have a 160, 170-pound wrestler that's 6 feet, just under 6 feet, there was such a stigma in wrestling on what you had to look like.
He wrestles in Doc
And
Martens,
he just came
right?
out. Yeah, he came out with like jorts and like compression leggings or whatever, and just was different. And he was my emo phase. He was Emily's emo phase, like come to life as a wrestler. And then seeing him come out with champ, champ, champ the second time, like just everything about him makes me want to watch him succeed and want to watch him. And I think that's why Moxley picked him for this feud. And I think that's why this rivalry is so important because, like you just said earlier, a win over Moxley is huge in AEW because then he's beaten former world champions and he can beat another. He can beat a four-time former world champion. It's not like, oh, haha, I got a surprise roll up. But no, I beat a champion. And it's like anything else. If you watch any sports, if you watch a football team, what's the first thing they say when they beat the Eagles this year? Oh, they beat the defending champions. Like, it's important in sports that you defeat a defending champion or former champion because it shows you have the mettle to compete. And if anyone's got the balls, the cojones, or whatever you want to call it to compete, it's Darby fucking Allin. And you'll have to stay tuned because I heard that if you listen right after this, there might be a little cameo. And as promised, here's a cameo. Welcome back, Camden.
Hi, everyone.
Camden Cruz has officially come back on the show for the first time in a little while, but it's the 3-year anniversary of Cruising with Kayfabe, and we're talking about his favorite wrestler,
Allin.
So we had to bring him on because before he was Camden Cruz, you had another nickname. What was it?
Little Darby.
And to explain to everyone why you were called Little Darby, besides after you met him, why you were called Little Darby.
So on the cruise, when I was little, I cosplayed as Darby Allin.
And people knew you because you cosplay as Darby Allin, and you pretty much did it every year.
Yep.
And you pretty much do it every time.
Yep.
So Little Birdie told me that you're going to meet him again next month. Are you going to dress up as Darby again?
Yep.
So do we get the return of Little Darby?
Absolutely.
All right. Are you excited to ask him about anything when you meet him?
I'm really excited to ask him about Mount Everest and how the experience was when he climbed it.
That's exciting. I think that's really cool because, I mean, we've got to talk to him about wrestling before. You've got to talk to him about some of your favorite matches. Being there for Sting's last match when he flipped off the ladder and went through the glass.
Oh, that had me like jaw dropped.
That was so crazy. And now you get to talk to him about probably one of the craziest things ever, Mount Everest, where only a few hundred people have ever made it to the top, right? Like only a few thousand people?
Yeah.
So, and I know you're learning about it in school, so you know the trials and tribulations that Darby faces.
Yep.
And I think that's why this episode is perfect, because we're talking about Darby and Mox and kind of their whole rivalry when they started in 2019 and he first wrestled him probably early November when the show first started. Then we talked about the first time Darby wrestled him for the title and he came out with champ, 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 champ. Wasn't that your favorite paint, or was there another paint that you liked more?
I like the champ paint and like the tree paint.
So you like the champ and then the tree. What are your favorite things from when Moxley and Darby have matches?
Probably how every time Moxley always found a way to somehow like abuse the fact that Darby is relentless and will only go till he can't move.
No, you're right. Every time, that's what we talked about too. You nailed it right on the head. You know, the first match, Darby couldn't really keep up, and then the second match, Moxley was getting frustrated because every time he would do something, he would say, "Just stay down, just stay down." I mean, you had Darby biting Moxley back. I mean, you have Darby with the body bag the first time, and then remember he staples Moxley's picture to the face.
Yep.
So, what about that aspect do you like about some of the videos that he does or promos? Like, what are some of your favorites of those, like styles or types?
Probably my favorite style is when like he's like doing the skateboarding ones. Cause I feel like they're like his best ones. and I like the ones where like he's like facing it at like one wrestler.
Like he's wearing their face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very like gritty. So you like the gritty style?
Yep.
I liked that new one he did too, where he lit the wall on fire and he was facing the wall and like he wrote "all out in blood." Or like you said, when he's just skateboarding, he's dragging a body bag while he's skateboarding. So you like his aura?
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you think Darby has good aura?
Yep.
All right.
He probably has the highest aura count of any wrestler
All
I've
right.
met.
You've heard that here first. He's got the highest aura count of any wrestler you've met. Also, I think I like the fact that when Darby and Mox started out, Darby kind of idolized Moxley for his deathmatch style, and Moxley is kind of a relentless son of a bitch himself. So, what are your thoughts on Moxley when he was a face and before the Death Riders, when Moxley was that kind of like rough badass that you kind of had to go through hardcore, go through hell to beat? How do you think that meshed with Darby's style in those first couple matches?
Honestly, I feel like it matched perfectly. They had perfect chemistry. I honestly felt like nothing could have gone wrong with those matches.
Or they kind of cringe inducing too at all? Like, do you ever feel like you had to look away, like a car crash or cringe or anything like that?
Yeah, like every time like John Moxley like scratches the back of people or like bites them, I just cringe.
And then you got Darby, who's just a psycho, who will go, "Okay, I can do that too." Because then we have the steel cage match. Remember at Forbidden Door,
Oh
and
yeah.
he's taking the screwdriver in the ear,
Yeah.
and then Claudio just throws him everywhere. So every time he faces Moxley, there's so much adversity. I mean, let's talk about the lead up to Mount Everest. He had faced Moxley a couple times, didn't win. He's in the C2. He's exhausted. He's been wrestling in the tournament. He just had a crazy match with Ospreay, and he's getting ready to climb Everest after he broke his foot after he got hit by a bus. I mean, this poor man went through everything, and now Moxley's throwing his ass down the stairs. What'd you think about that one? After everything he went through, going through glass and breaking his foot, not going to Everest for a whole another year, and then right before Christmas, they're like, nope, and they just throw Darby down the steps.
I honestly, at that point, I was about to just crash out.
Crash out. But it did lead us to, obviously, he took time off and he decided to climb Mount Everest. Cheap plug again. You can check right here on our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and comment below. We actually have a whole playlist of Darby climbing Mount Everest. So check that out because he did. And one of my favorite things, I'm going to ask you, what were a couple of your favorite things of the videos you saw from Mount Everest? What was one of your favorites?
Probably one of my favorite videos was the one where he did the kickflip.
Awesome. So when he's like doing the world's highest kickflip,
Yeah.
I know, how cool is that? Like, you're up Mount Everest and you still bring skateboarding, which is a big part of your personality. I mean, he's building that skate park. I mean, I think he should be in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater if they ever remake another one. I'll just say that. But all the different stuff he does skateboarding, like you said, he's on Mount Everest. Where what happens to the oxygen as you go up?
It gets lower and lower, and most people have died because either they can't, even with supplemental oxygen, they still can't get enough oxygen, or people try to do it without supplemental oxygen and then they die trying to do the challenge.
You sound like you know a lot of research on that. I'm proud of you. Um, no, you're right. So, do you think him doing a physical activity like the kickflip that took a lot of like breathing techniques and mastering that kind of challenge of thin air?
Yeah, because even on the podcast, he said how he mastered this one breathing technique so that he had an easier time climbing Mount Everest.
That was smart. Are you talking about the Talk is Jericho podcast?
Yep.
Wasn't that cool to kind of hear him speak about Everest in his own words and like what the journey meant for him?
Yeah.
And I think it was crazy because I know when you and I were watching stuff on YouTube about Mount Everest to learn about Darby's journey, I remember when they started talking about altitude sickness, they started talking about Camp 4 and the death zone and just being nervous. And, I remember being scared for him. I mean, you'd ask me every day, any updates on Darby? Any updates on Darby? Any updates on Darby? And I made it a mission to scour. And then when we saw him finally post a picture holding that AEW flag at the top of Mount Everest, what did you think? How did you feel when you saw him on the top of Mount Everest?
I'm like, he freaking did it. He did it.
I know you just felt so elated, and then you were just like, I hope he comes down. I hope he comes down. And then I'm going to ask you for your reaction because you were watching it live with us. So Allin comes around. Hangman's fighting for the title. Moxley and Hangman, Moxley's gotten forked in the head a bunch of times. It's been brutal. And then the lights go out, and then you just see Darby on top of Mount Everest. And he says, "On top of the freaking world, John, I'm coming down to take everything from you." And then he descends from the rafters. How did you feel? What did that mean to you?
I was screaming out of joy. It was probably one of the most shocking returns I've ever seen in AEW. And it was probably like one of the best productive returns I've seen in AEW. The fact that he even took the time and used the breathing technique and took all that time just to do that promo on top of Mount Everest was just crazy.
It is crazy. And then he comes out just like Sting does, comes down from the rafters and attacks the Death Riders and helps Hangman win. And Darby freaking Allin is back. And do you notice a vibe shift in the show since he's been back? Or what do you think? What has kind of changed?
I feel like the show has been more upbeat versus when the Death Riders were there and Darby wasn't there. It was more like
Did it feel hopeless?
Yeah, it felt hopeless. Like nobody was gonna stop him. And then Darby came and he just started beating the crap out of the Death Riders.
I like it. So you feel like Darby's kind of like your hope, like, in superhero terms, he's that returning hero to take down Thanos, to take down the bad guys.
Yeah.
I like it. And then, shockingly, we would have a casket match at All Out. That's Darby's match. I mean, he lost the recent ones, but like he's got this right. And now, thanks to that bastard Pac, Darby loses a coffin match, like casket match. Sorry, I'm gonna get that wrong every time. But what did you kind of think about that match? Like everything you saw in it and kind of the ending.
When I honestly thought that Darby was gonna win all the way through until the end, and then I was like one step away from just crashing out.
No crashing out here. No crashing out. But I'm guessing you weren't happy.
Yeah. I was just shocked at how the bastard Pac returned.
I know. I wasn't expecting either short hair, looking like Neville back in the day. And he attacks Darby, and poor Darby takes a razor's edge onto that casket and then gets thrown in it, and just, I don't know. But then backstage, he escapes the body bag they put him in. He's got Mox in the body bag, and he sets him on fire. Now, how'd that make you feel?
That made me feel happy.
Setting someone on fire made you feel happy. Oh, should I be worried?
No, only because it was Jon Moxley.
Okay. Perfect. So that leads out to him coming out with a freaking flamethrower. Also, someone had the audacity in the comments to say Darby wouldn't use that flamethrower. Can you tell the fans, would Darby use that flamethrower on someone?
Yes, but only if they pissed him off.
Very true. Can you name someone he did that to?
Jungle Boy.
Jack Perry. Yeah, he set Jack Perry on fire. And Moxley.
Yeah.
So we have an official I Quit match for All Out. Darby has never beaten Moxley. Remember, he also forced Moxley to give up his title shot. Remember when he wanted to fight Bryan Danielson in basically his home state, but Moxley convinced him to give his title shot and he brutalized him. So he's 0-4 against Moxley. Do you think, early prediction here for All Out, do you think that Darby can make Moxley quit?
Honestly, if he delivers, if he finds a way, if he strategizes to find his weak spots, so if Hangman comes out to help him, if he forks him like Hangman did,
if he forks him, okay.
If he does all the things that he's seen everybody else do to Jon Moxley to almost gain the victory, if he combines that all together, he should be able to defeat him.
I like it. So you're saying kind of study everyone who's beaten Moxley and what they've done and use those same techniques?
Yeah.
So kind of like studying the Karate Kid and using the crane kick that Speedball does?
Yeah.
So like understanding all the different moves and the psychology. I like it. So you kind of got to know your enemy and his weakness. So that's good. That's tape studying. I like it. So before we wrap up, I just want a few more questions. So what are some of your favorite things about this Jon Moxley and Darby feud, going into this? Like, do you think because he has a chance to end the Death Riders, or do you see something else?
I see that it might cause John Moxley to go like crazy and for him to like start attacking everybody in the Death Riders, and that can cause them to break up.
So you see this as being like the downfall because like Moxley just can't believe he quit to Darby and just kind of goes psychotic and starts attacking his friends.
Yeah.
I like that destruction from within, kind of like a self implosion.
Yeah, because we've already seen him gone a little bit crazy in the
A little
last.
bit, yep. You're right. He goes a lot of crazy. All right. So some rapid fire here. What are some of your favorite things about Darby?
Probably how he's relentless, and the only way that you can pin him is if you make it so that he can't move. He can't do anything to defend against the pin.
So almost like you have to trap him or beat him senseless.
Yeah.
Like he's just not going to quit. Okay. Which Darby is? What's the most memorable Darby stunt? Like the craziest thing you've seen him do? What's your favorite?
Probably when he jumped off the ladder and just absolutely put me in awe.
When he went out through that glass?
Yeah.
Okay. What about if I ask you to rank on a scale? So that's number one. So let's rank the other ones 2 through 4. I'll keep track. What's this? I mean 2 through 5. Sorry. What's your second favorite one?
Probably when he jumped off that like the overview where John Moxley comes out of, and Coffin dropped onto him.
Oh, when he surprised him when they were in that cool little venue.
Yeah.
Yeah, the balcony thing. Okay, that's a fair one. All right, what's another one?
Probably when I think this was him. And I confuse it with another wrestler, but when he like climbed onto one of the posts of like the entrance ramp and jumped off it.
Nope, he's done that. He's jumped off the tunnels. Okay, I like that one. What about another one?
Probably when he did.
He's got so many. I know it's hard to think about. All right, I can name a couple, and you can tell me either 4 or 5.
Okay.
And then we can go there. Okay, so you have Darby climbing to the top of Blood and Guts and dropping on people.
Oh.
You have Darby setting Jack Perry on fire.
Oh, that's a 4.
Okay, or you have Darby being hanging upside down, getting super kicked by the Bucks. Darby going down the stairs. Darby being thrown down the stairs by Ethan Page. Powerbombed on the caskets. Choked out by Brody King. Swanton through a bunch of chairs with Jeff Hardy.
Swanton.
Okay, so that's number 5?
Yep.
All right. And then last question, if you could tell the viewers, what is something that I always say?
Like, subscribe, and comment.
Okay, I like that one, but how do I always close the show?
Oh yeah, and always keep the kayfabe.
All right. Well, and to wrap it up today, I just want to say thank you for everyone for listening. Please make sure you like, follow, subscribe on our YouTube, Facebook, all that jazz, CWK Podcast. You also just do us a huge favor. Just give us a like, comment. Let us know your thoughts on this episode or any of our episodes because that feedback's valuable to us because we can help produce what you like. And if there's things that you want us to improve on, we can learn. And we appreciate our community, especially on Facebook. We're about to hit 20,000. We can't thank you guys enough for building a great community, and we appreciate all the support.
It's been a really fun ride, just learning as we go as far as like our posts and I mean just even the video editing that you've done and the producing that you've done. I think we can gush for a second on that. We've found new apps that we use to create things, like the graphic behind us right now. Like Mongo puts so much work into stuff like that. I put all of our collages together. I really like to mix and match and find pictures that the photographers have taken. Yes, I give credits. Like the fact that they take such incredible pictures, I just am captivated by them, and I really enjoy being able to see the transitions and everything that we're able to do and we've accomplished in the last couple of years. And I just think it's really cool. So thank everybody for listening for the past 3 years to us.
Appreciate that. And as we've said, for 3 years, and as we'll say for 3 more years, hopefully.
Or more.
If you please give us a like, follow. Thank you for everything. And remember, always
keep the kayfabe.